In today's lesson, we're going to look at a reparametrization under VVF, which is vector void function. Not to waste time, we'll dive in directly to this question. So we are given this equation, which was an equation for the helix. Then they are telling us to reparametrize this vector void function with respect to the arc length measured from this point, which is 1, 0, 0 in the direction of the what? Increasing t. So now we need to know some facts before we start solving this. For us to reparametrize, or what it means for you to reparametrize, what it technically means is just simply that what you are supposed to do, you just need to find t in terms of s. You're finding t in terms of s. Now, how do you find this s? The way you're going to find this s, you're just going to use the integral from 0 to t. The lower bound will be 0, the upper bound will be t. But now, what are you integrating? You are supposed to integrate the derivative of the magnitude of RT. But now, there is a catch. If you are integrating R prime t magnitude, it means we are supposed to use what? dt. But if you look at this, you see that our upper bound is t. So there is need for us to replace the t in the R prime t with any letter which you will come up with. You can choose U, you can choose any letter which is suitable with you, unless t. But even t you can use, but you just need to be careful on when it will become on substitution, when you'll be substituting your bounds. So in this case, we're going to let t equal to j. We're going to let t equal to j. So if I say this turns into r prime j, it means even the dt will be now dj. So this will be s is equals to the integral of 0 to t magnitude of r prime j, then dj, and this will be dj. Now, since us knowing this fact, now what are we going to do with s? After finding s, you will see that this part for the integral is going to give us something that is going to have a t. So we are going to make t the subject of the formula in terms of s. And then we'll go back to the actual equation, where we have a t, we're going to replace what? S, which will be now s in terms of what? Of t. That is what it means just for you to reparametrize an equation. So let's go ahead and just do what we have just said. So for the first part, let's find the derivative of our function which we have. So the derivative of rt, which is r prime t, will be, it will simply be the derivative of cos t, it is negative sin t, which was I representing the x, plus the derivative of sin t is just cos tj. Then we have plus, for the z we have t, the derivative of t is just 1. So now this just ends up being what? Ends up being k. Now we need to find the magnitude of r prime t. We need to find the magnitude of what? R prime t. So the magnitude of r prime t, will be sin t squared plus, supposed to have so it's a negative sin t squared. Negative sin t squared and sin t squared is just the same thing. Then we have a plus cos t squared, then plus 1 squared. Now this is all under what? A square root. So this will just simplify to being sin squared t plus cos squared t plus 1. Now, us knowing the fact that this is an identity, and we can resolve it. Now, if this wasn't an identity, this is where now the part where I was telling you to say, you're supposed to replace t with a constant. You're supposed to replace t with any letter or any variable to say. So in this case, we are supposed to replace t with j. But now sine squared j plus cos squared j is just the same as sine squared g plus cos squared g, which is just what? 1. So now our root, we are having 1 plus 1, which is what? Just the root of 2. So now this is what we are going to take and replace where? This one, on the magnitude of j. The magnitude of r prime j. So now we are going to find s, saying s is equivalent to the integral 0 to t. We have root of what? Root of 2 dj. Now, what's the integral of root of 2 with respect to dj? You see that this will just be the root of 2. Since we are taking the root of 2, the root of 2 is just a constant. So 1, integrating 1 with respect to t, it will be just t. Now integrating root 2 with respect to dj, it will be just j. Bounded by 0 to what? 0 to t. This is s. So you can see that s is equivalent to what? Root of 2. Now for the first bound, we're replacing j with what? With t. Then minus, we have root of 2 when we're replacing j with what? With 0. Now we see that this term will be 0, and s just simplifies as to being root 2 what? T. Now we need to make t the subject of the formula. So t is equivalent to, t is just equivalent to s over what? Root 2. Now after us finding t in terms of s, we are going to go back to our actual equation. We're going to go back to our actual equation, which is this one. And wherever there is t, we're going to replace s over what? Root 2. So our final answer, it will be rt is equivalent to cos s over root 2i plus sine s over root 2j plus s over root 2 what? K. So this is the final answer. So that is the way to go about every question which will ask you to reparameterize a vector valued function. So that is just the way to go about it.